Okay, that was really fascinating, especially to understand and listen to three different perspectives of our mind and our emotions. Okay, so now we come to the most awaiting part of this entire event, the panel discussion. I want to request all our speakers to come to the dais, and I would like to invite Ms. Ankita to moderate the panel talk.
Thank you so much, Rahul. A very good evening to everyone. Since we are here talking about emotions and feeling, I would like to start the panel discussion by asking, how are we feeling? Good?
Cold.
Cold? Can we please increase the AC temperature so that we can survive this panel discussion? Once again, a very warm welcome to our panelists. It's lovely to have you here, and it's my pleasure to moderate this wonderful discussion. So my name is Ankita. I am a student counselor working in the outreach team of Student Wellness Center. So we often talk about expressing emotions and like how they show up in the body, but we rarely stop to think what are the emotional imprints that are left in our body, like inside our body. So my first question is to Dr. Sheryl, to just understand, get some clinical perspective. Dr. Sheryl, how does the body signal the emotional distress early on? And why is mind and body awareness so important? Like, why do we have to gather here and try to understand this?
Thank you, Ankita, for the question. I'm audible?
Can we do a mic check, please? This is okay.
Yeah, so from a clinical aspect, right, that when I was talking about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, when we're looking at clinical example, like a sympathetic nervous system, we spoke about the fight, flight, or the freeze response. So before the emotions are seen, your body will show the symptoms. So what happens is your respiratory system, so you're either breathing very hard, you're having difficulty in breathing or choking sensation. You could have palpitations, your heart rate increasing. A lot of times you will experience none of this, but you will have GI system issues. So you're either having acidity or you're having bloating. You can have IBS. A lot of people come to us, they've gone through multiple doctors and then come to the psychiatrist because they've had issues with multiple organ systems. And the most common one is your GI system. So your digestion is not really good. You're constantly feeling either you're having loose motions or you're having constipation. A lot of muscle aches and pains. So stress can manifest, or emotional distress can actually manifest as aches and pains. It could range from headache to muscle pain in your knees, in your back, that kind of pain. Headache is the most common. So migraine is a very common sign of emotional distress. Another manifestation is sleep issues. So because you're in a state of hyperarousal, you're not able to sleep well. That means you go to bed, let's say at 2 o'clock, not a good time, but yeah, that's how I think most of you go to bed at, and you're not able to fall asleep. So you're just turning and twisting, or you fall asleep on time, but you're constantly waking up, and you wake up in the morning and you're not feeling fresh. It can manifest as appetite issues, like Binita was talking about, you delay eating. So in the same way, when you're stressed, you could either delay and not eat and then suppress your hunger, or like a lot of us will binge eat. So a lot of emotional eating and then the manifestations of that. So an awareness about these things, why is mind-body important, is the moment you're aware, you can intervene early. So when your sympathetic nervous system is overactive, that's the first sign. And if we intervene then, it will prevent a lot of domino effect from happening. So intervene when these symptoms are there, you understand, okay, these are somatic clues. I can get into preventive intervention rather than wait for it to get worse, become a disorder, lead to depression, lead to substance use, and then intervene. So I think the awareness about mind-body connection, and these cues that my body is giving is very important for early intervention. It's very important to save a lot of money, because otherwise you're going to all the doctors in the hospital. Yesterday I saw a medical student. For the last 6 months she's having raised heart rate. Because she's a medical student, she got everything done. She got all her blood tests done, including metanephrine and adrenal gland examination. She met the nephrologist, the cardiologist, everybody. Because they all wanted to be sure that this is not a physical problem, but it is a physical problem. Of course, the organ impacted is the brain. So it will save you a lot of money if you're more in tune with these body symptoms are actually symptoms from the brain.
Alright, so that makes a lot of sense, and I think that also really reframes how we look at emotional health, because we often get very surprised, कि अरे एकदम से हो गया, पता ही नहीं पड़ा, but clearly there are warning signs that we can be mindful of and also save some money for ourselves. So there's this interesting book that is based on the topic under discussion today, which is The Body Keeps the Score. Binita, can you throw some light on what exactly this means? Why and how does body store the emotional experiences that we go through? And in that case, how does somatic work help us?
Body is trained to store, to react to survival first and then understanding, right? So we are at the end of the day beings that have a nervous system similar to all other nervous systems in the world, and we are here to survive. So when that happens, when we experience something really emotional, and if you don't have a space to discharge that build up energy, right? There's a charge that builds up in your body when something emotional happens. And if you don't have a space to discharge it, for instance, you can't shout back at somebody, you cannot, you don't have time, your circumstances or your understanding of a situation tells you that I can't do this in this situation, then what happens is that emotional charge is stored in the body as readiness. It's there. It's on standby, it's constantly there. Right? And that becomes a state of stress for a long period of time. So we hold on to emotional experiences as a way of actually protecting ourselves. It's a protective mechanism. It's a way of supporting our body. It's body wisdom. But over a period of time, that same charge works against us. Not because it understands what's happening, because language is important later, right? You need to make meaning of what's happening. So where somatic work fits into the picture is when you have a relationship with your body, you're really listening. It's almost like saying okay, if I am falling sick again and again, what is my body trying to tell me? What is wanting to happen for my body? I had a teacher who used to say that we often, when something stressful is happening, we refer to the past. We refer to what had happened. But really what is important to focus on in that moment is what is wanting to happen. If I'm feeling exhausted and tired, what is probably wanting to happen is I want to rest. But in the past, when I was stressed, I didn't rest. I kind of just went on and on and on with things. So we're referring to that experience and not to the experience that is in front of us. So somatic work, what it does, it brings your attention to the present, so that you don't lose connection to the present and you can actually support yourself better with your body and your emotions.
Okay. So emotions basically, they are not fleeting. Many of them also settle in, is what you're saying. So many of us, like animals, also instinctively turn to movement, right? So it can be breathing or going for a jog or something of that sort. So Devyani, why do practices like yoga or breath work or sound for that matter feel so calming before we even understand what's happening in our body?
When I started, I asked everyone to be aware of their breath. And I also made everyone practice the box breathing exercise. Binita also brought us to feeling our bodies and understanding the way that our bodies are feeling. So I'm going to address this in 3 parts to simplify this.
every single time we put effort, either through yoga or mindfulness, breath work, sound therapy sessions, any of these sessions, what we are asking our body, breath and mind to do is to be fully and utterly present in that moment. And when we are present, we're present with a sense of equanimity of mind. Each time I asked you to close your eyes and observe your breath, there were no thoughts. You had no option but to have that equanimity where you didn't know any thoughts. You weren't in the past, you weren't in the future, you were fully there. And just that is extremely relaxing. So what yoga and breathwork does is it forces you to be fully present. And as far as breathwork or pranayama is concerned, firstly, it is almost a physiological hack. Like we spoke about the parasympathetic nervous system, it instantly simulates your vagus nerve, which, like I said, is as simple as a toggle switch. So when you want to turn on your Bluetooth and turn off, you just tap, right? That's what breath does to your vagus nerve and eventually your parasympathetic nervous state. This in turn has an impact on cortisol levels. So cortisol, as we all know now because of Instagram and school of Instagram, is that it's a stress hormone. So this regulates that hormone, and a consistent and daily practice of it regulates it over a time period. The longer we do it, we'll notice that we have a better control on our breath and eventually our heart rate, our nervous system, and it has an overall calming effect on our body. The practice of yoga, movement, you could be going to the gym, you could be going for a walk, or every single time that you move your body, especially in a practice like asana, like Binita spoke about proprioceptors. So yoga is known to be have a beautiful impact on the proprioceptor receptors of the brain, which means that if you're doing an asana, you know exactly how you need to align your fingers and you keep it there. And just that, like I said, keeps you in the present moment, improves the brain function, helps in secreting good and happy hormones, which is serotonin and endorphin, and just allows you to be fully present, and a daily and consistent practice of showing up calms you down. So this was about yoga and breathwork, bringing me to sound therapy. I have also been here on campus several times for sound baths and sound therapies, and if any of you have attended, I think Student Wellness Center is doing an incredible job making all of these practices accessible to you. And if you have attended any of those sessions, you'll understand that you just lay there, and when you come out of the session, you feel like you've taken a really long nap and you don't know what changed. So our bodies are 70% water. The moment that there's an external vibration in terms of a sound, it resonates directly through your body. Your muscles relax, and on a very physical level, the body feels relaxed because the water in our body resonates those vibrations. Our brain also has something called brainwave entrainment, which means that the brain completely and utterly mimics its electrical waves in association with high frequencies. So you directly move from beta waves to alpha and theta waves, which is a completely and utterly relaxed state. It also works on the emotional center of the brain first, followed by the rest of your body. What I'm trying to get at is these practices work in a bottom-up manner. It may not work on your brain or your thinking capacity as much. It first starts working up on your physical body and then your mind. So you may notice that you physically feel extremely relaxed, and then you may make logical sense of it. But the most important part here is consistency and discipline.
It's interesting to know that alpha, beta, theta is here as well. I think that's why these practices are also called as the grounding techniques, because they help us bring ourselves back to the present. But sadly, they don't always work. And sometimes it also happens that, Binita had mentioned, that Sheryl, how does this long-term emotional stress affect our daily functioning, like sleep, our energy levels, our focus, and why are these concerns usually mistaken as physical issues rather than emotional ones?
Yeah. So when we spoke about when you are stressed, we all spoke about the sympathetic nervous system. Now, what happens when it's prolonged for a longer period of time? Then what gets activated is also your hypothalamic pituitary axis, that is your cortisol. So then your cortisol levels are high, your adrenaline levels are high. These are the stress hormones which increase. It starts impacting every organ of your body. So it impacts your endocrinological system. So you develop diabetes, you can have thyroid issues. It starts impacting your immunological system. So you're coming up frequently with cough and cold and a lot of physical ailments. Because it's not just then restricted to the sympathetic nervous system, it's like a cascading effect to every circuit in the brain. What happens to sleep? You see that because you're in that hyper-arousal state, like I mentioned in my talk also, you're unable to fall asleep. And even if you fall asleep, you're constantly waking up because you have to be alert. Right? You're the soldier on the border. तो border वाला soldier सो नहीं सकता, right? उसको हमेशा तैनात होना होता है. So that's what's happening when you're stressed, कि you're हमेशा तैनात. So you're not able to sleep. And even if you sleep and you wake up in the morning, you're feeling as if jang jal ke aaye, right? Because you're tired. You've actually fought a war in the night. You have a lot of nightmares if you're having stress. So your nightmares will be of falling off a cliff, drowning, left all alone on a field, some family member dying. These are all subconscious older traumas which then manifest when you're sleeping. So a lot of nightmares, I have a lot of students who come with their roommates saying that he रात को बहुत बात करता है. Right? He's constantly talking in the night. That's also a sign of stress or sleep getting disturbed. Now, the same thing to do with energy, right? You're a soldier who's gone to the border. You know that there is a 1 week duty. Now the duty is going on and on and on. What's going to happen to your body? You're going to get tired. So you're going to feel extreme fatigue, no motivation, all your muscles are going to ache and pain. And you feel complete lack of energy. Then it moves on to concentration. So then you're having brain fog. एक ही चीज़ बार बार पढ़ रहे हो, you're not able to remember. You're not able to focus in class. Whatever is the input, the output is not the same. So the concentration starts getting impacted because your entire nervous system is only working to keep you alive and survive. बाकी पढ़ाई करना is not important. It's not important if I am standing at the border to know whatever your equations are or to know whatever Python or whatever the languages that you're learning, right? I just have to survive that situation. So no matter what you're learning, you're not able to reproduce. What happens is, like the amygdala or the sensory nervous system is active, your prefrontal cortex, that is the one for focus, for attention, for planning, for working memory, that becomes underactive. That is why you're not able to recollect what you have studied when you are under stress. So the long-term implications would be that. And why it happens physically? Because it's coming from your brain. Your brain is the monitor which manifests and controls every organ of your body. So it's biological. A lot of times what happens is because it's not very okay to talk about emotions. Not just in our culture, all across the world. It is not an Indian thing, it's across the world. Nobody wants to talk about emotions. It's easier when there are physical manifestations. So a lot of times subconsciously your body is manifesting with physical symptoms. So the actual problem is the emotional distress, the actual problem is the depression, the actual problem is the anxiety, but the manifestation is physical. It will be physical because it's coming from your brain. I think we'll have question answers after. Is that okay?
Alright, so I think that when we say that I'm just tired or I can't concentrate or I can't sleep, there's an emotional layering to it as well somewhere. Right, so my next question is to Binita. Like many of us struggle to name our emotions. Like when somebody asks, like I just ask everyone how are we feeling. Some were blank. The same thing happens with me. I often struggle to name my emotion. Like मुझे कुछ तो feel हो रहा है, but क्या हो रहा है मैं नहीं बता सकती. So how does working with body, how is it helpful in such situations when words fall short?
I just want to say it's really normal. Happens to me also. So not being able to name emotions doesn't mean that we don't have awareness of what's happening inside of us. I just wanted to begin with that. We also have a lot of information out there, so it feels like we need to know exactly what's happening to us to be able to access mental health services, but it's not the case. I think with naming emotions, there's a pressure of knowing, and associations you've already made, right? Like it could be a gender stereotype of like as men being like, we don't talk about our emotions. God forbid I said I'm sad. Right? So one is your past experiences, but the other piece of it is that when we are even asking somebody how you're feeling can kind of put them in a state of survival, right? It can be like, what? Like, I don't know. And that can also make people react in a way that comes from survival when you're asked for what you want or what you want to express. But body sensations then become very accessible. If you ask somebody, like, what's happening in your stomach, like what's happening in your jaw, there might be possibility that they will be able to say, it's a little tight, it's okay, it's feeling a little like stretchy, and then it invites the emotion to be then expressed. Very often, a lot of children I work with, the moment I ask them how they're feeling, no answer. The moment you ask them, like, show it in action or like what's happening in your tummy, there will be a reaction, and immediately it'll be followed by like, actually too tired to do this. It's just that they needed that segue. They needed that support in sensing into their body to be able to then say what they are really feeling. So I often say that the usual misconception is that you need words to feel safe, but actually you need safety in your body so that words can follow. So with naming emotions, you can share your emotion, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people already do that. We share emotion through music. We share emotion through art. We share emotion through breath. Like an eye roll is sharing emotion. You don't need to name what that emotion is. Raising your voice is you showing emotion. You don't have to show. You don't have to always name it, but sensing it helps you then later think of words and gives you choices. Isko kya bolna hai? Sometimes, because you feel it in the same parts of your body. You feel anxiety in your chest, you will also feel joy and flutters in your chest, you will also feel excitement in your chest. But if you're not sensing into how the nuanced differences are in your body, then everything gets clubbed as anxiety. And then it gets a very negative connotation. Maybe it's just excitement, but we've not given ourselves chance to notice that.
Okay, that makes sense. So like whenever I say I'm fine, like my Sobby playlist says otherwise. So that now I know why. Right. So another way in which emotions show up in our body is also posture. So Devyani, how do our emotional states reflect in our posture and in our everyday movement or body patterns?
I'm just looking around the room and I see a lot.
Correct your posture.
I see someone who's exhausted. I can see someone who's hungry, someone who's had a long day, someone who's a little nervous and defensive, someone who's a little excited, someone who's observant. Just by looking around and reading the room, there's a lot that I can already see and say about the way that you might be feeling. So what I'm trying to say is the way that we carry our body is such a clear indication of how we might be feeling. We may start our day completely ready, and by the time it ends, we're exhausted. We may enter a room, we don't like the teacher, we don't like the person we're speaking to, and our hands are folded. Notice how when you're having an argument, you're going to fold your arms. How many of us have gotten an injection before, especially the dirty B12 ones on our hip? We subconsciously clench the muscle. So we do tend to have an automatic muscular and a postural response to the way that we're feeling. It's just that we're not observant of it. But my favorite part about this is that there's a beautiful saying, fake it till you make it. So you may be feeling a certain way, you may be feeling down in the dumps, but when you have an interview, how are you going to walk in? Confident. And notice how just the way that you carry yourself is going to change the way that you're going to feel. Especially for women. Notice how you're not feeling so great, you might be on your cycle. But when we just wear an outfit we really like, and we may put on some makeup and just dress up, instantly uplifts our mood, right? Fake it till you make it. And this is so important because there's something called the mind-body loop. It's an embodied cognition, which means that It is not just the way that you're emotionally feeling impacting your posture, but your posture also impacts the way that you feel. So it's a complete circuit, it's a loop. So not just carrying yourself a certain way shows how you're feeling, but changing the way that you're carrying yourself is also going to change the way that you're feeling. And that is so important, which is why physical movement and consistently being in an active state makes you aware of the way that your body responds, and also teaches you and trains you how to carry yourself so you're not feeling down in the dumps.
Okay, so basically our body is communicated even when our mouth is shut. Alright, so Binita, what does it, like we keep hearing, like, listen to your mind, listen to your brain, listen to your body, but what does this actually mean in everyday student life? What does listening to one's body mean?
I think it's just as simple as like, I'm gonna just lean into this chair and like go all the way down as this panel goes on, right? Like I'm feeling tired and I'm gonna support myself. It's as simple as that. Sometimes it's not big stuff, but little moments when we notice, like I want to drink a glass of water, I'm noticing I'm thirsty, I'll have that. We're not taught to do that. Right? We are not taught, at least in systems that require some high academic performance, across the globe, not just here, like across the globe where we need to perform. Nobody's stopping there and being like emotional processing, right? Nobody's saying and telling you like let's look at how your nervous system is, but your body's telling you, your body's guiding you, your body's guiding the pace at which you walk, your body's guiding you the volume you use to talk to somebody's talking to you, the noise around you, right? With hunger, with what you look at, with lights, what you want to orient to, right? I don't want to look at this brown chair, but I would love to look at something yellow behind me because it's pleasing to my eyes and it's giving me some sense of feeling in the present. All these are very accessible ways of being in the present. I think the common notion that comes with taking care of yourself and listening to your body is I have to listen to something that is not okay. But that's not true. Listening to your body means you're making space to the activation that's happening in and out. Like emotion is energy in motion. How is it moving in my body at the end of the day, and how do I want to move it in my body at the end of the day? Okay, I'm feeling great. I was feeling great 5 minutes ago, now I'm feeling not so great, or it's not as intense as it was. I was jumping with joy and I was loving this experience I was happening 10 minutes ago. But now I am feeling really satisfied and okay with it, but I don't have that much energy in my body. I want to sit down. Right? So those are also ways of noticing what's happening in your body and listening to your body. It's when we put a lot of jargons to this, it becomes very complicated. But the simplest thing is that I am pretty sure everyone in this room is already listening to their body in some way or the other. Right? But when you do it with a little more attention, you then have choices available of how I want to do it differently. You might already be having that like 10-minute break that you have assigned for yourself, but not with discipline, but we want to do it with intuition. It's not like I will have that water for 10 minutes after 3 hours. It's that I'm feeling thirsty, can I support myself with a sip of water right now and not wait till then? So that's also like being more intuitive, being more fluid. It's almost like in nature-based work we say that like the river finds its course. It's not forgetting to be on its course, but it finds its course, right? Like it keeps flowing. So also going with the flow of where your body wants to take you, but not in a haphazard way where you're feeling controlled by it, but where you know you have agency, where you know you have choice, that I can respond to it this way. So you're not feeling like something is happening outside of your control.
So it doesn't have to be something big or intense. It can be something as simple as just noticing those small signals that your body is constantly giving.
I just want to add, like, nature is the greatest regulator. You have an amazing campus in IIT here, and I think I cannot stress enough how connection is so important for building body awareness. And if one struggles with building that connection internally, a lot of us might not feel great sensing into our bodies. We may have different relationships with our body, but attuning to something outside of you which is readily accessible and to begin with is pleasing, even if you can pause for a bit and notice what's around you, is a great way to start to bring that awareness into your body, because you will feel a shift in your body.
So relying on your campus minus the construction that's going around. Dr. Sheryl, you spoke extensively about the role of nervous system in emotional manifestation, and you talked about how the emotional stress can then lead to disruptions in our daily life. But what is how is your nervous system eventually affected if you are feeling emotionally stressed for a long period of time? And since you are a psychiatrist, can you also help us understand where does medication fit into all of this?
So I think I kind of elaborated a lot about how the nervous system gets impacted, right? So you given you the perspective of the various aspects, but you also understand, like I said, when you're stressed, it's like you're in a war zone. When COVID came and the first day when our Prime Minister declared there's going to be a curfew, we panicked and we kind of saw that, okay, do we have enough surplus atta, dal, whatever people were buying, I think all over the world, toilet paper. Thankfully, we didn't have to buy toilet paper, apne paas jet wash hai. But, right, so we were all stocking up stuff. So because we were anticipating that we are going to run out of it. That's what I think when we are talking about breath work or somatic work, is we're anticipating there is danger and I'm stocking up on supplies to sustain that situation. But when we're talking about long-term implications, it's like the Gaza situation. There is a sudden attack and that attack is going on for a longer period of time. You are going to run out of supplies. So when your brain nervous system is overactive constantly, then it's sending a signal ki bhai, there is danger, start conserving all the good chemicals. Because we don't know when you're going to need it more. So then it starts storing up the serotonin, it starts storing up the norepinephrine, it will not release the dopamine. It will make changes in your neurons so that your brain can sustain for that war that's going on for a longer time. And that's how we then manifest in mood, thoughts and behavior. So your mood is anxious, irritable, sad, your thinking is in a loop, you're constantly overthinking, you're ruminating, and your behavior comes up depending on how your mood is or how your feelings are. Most of the time, all of us, we focus only on our feelings. We don't go back to our thoughts. I'm angry, or I'm sad, or I'm feeling unsafe, and then I behave in a particular way. Let's go back a little bit to also understand what are the thoughts that are causing that. So when you're running on a deficiency of good chemicals, your thoughts will also be negative loop. So then the manifestation happens. That's where the role of medications come in. Like I said, when we're talking about yoga, when we're talking about therapy, when we're talking about somatic therapy, they're great tools and supportive tools and great preventive measures. They're great when there is a mild dysfunction, the start of an issue. But when there is a full-blown dysfunction that's happening, these tools will act as supportive roles. Medications will work on your sympathetic nervous system. So when you take the appropriate medication, the sympathetic nervous system will get the signal that there is no fight, flight and freeze response needed. Medications will help correct that serotonin circuit dysfunction, saying कि भाई कोई war नहीं है, start releasing your serotonin. Right? You go to the canteen and you eat dal and realize that the chef has forgotten to put salt. You're not going to imagine that there is salt and eat it. कि सोचेंगे इसमें नमक है और खाएंगे. करेंगे क्या? Maybe you'll ask him for salt and you'll put it in. That's what medications are going to do. If there is something that is low in your brain, we substitute it from outside. It's not actually substitution, it's actually we're just giving and stimulating your brain cells to secrete that chemical. So medications are extremely needed in most of the cases. I know I'm kind of, going to be the, maybe, holding the bull by its horn. 1 in 4 of us will experience some kind of mental health issue in our lifetime. That includes me. It doesn't insulate, okay, I'm getting into IIT campus where the greatest brains in the world, so mental health is not going to impact us. Or I'm a psychiatrist, so nothing is going to impact me because this is what I do for a living day in and day out. If I have a human brain, 1 in 4 of us is going to experience some kind of mental health concern, right? And we need help. And if medications are going to be the answer, we should be able to take it. You won't hesitate to go and take medications if you have gas. You won't hesitate if if you have a cardiac issue, you won't hesitate to take medications. You hesitate to take medications for mental health concerns because you think it's in your mind and it's something that you should be able to control or change. So if you're having that dysfunction, please do not hesitate to take medications. It really will change the trajectory of their illness.
So along with the supportive daily practices that the students can do, medication is also a form of treatment that can help them restore their nervous system if needed, and of course with appropriate professional consultation. Right, so I know we have exceeded our time, so I would like to conclude this panel discussion with my final question to Devyani. Devyani, can you help us with some small, sustainable, free of cost, body-based practices, especially the ones that the students can try, maybe using their breath or without feeling very overwhelmed?
So, I think all of us have spoken a lot about what stress is, how it manifests in the body, what emotions are, what tools you have at end. And some of them may be accessible, some of them may not be accessible. So what I would like to leave you with is the best thing you can do for yourself is to allow yourself and invite yourself to just be present through the day as you wake up and up until the time you sleep at night. If you're giving yourself pockets of moments where you can be fully present and just allow yourself to again and again keep relieving the stress behind, tapping into a calmer state of mind, you will find that you will gain that flexibility and ability to navigate stress from an autonomic nervous system point of view. So as you wake up, what you can do is box breathing, what we just spoke about. Just inhale for a few counts, hold, exhale, hold, or any pranayama practices. You can do it as soon as you wake up, before you start your day. Just take 2 to 3 minutes to get any pranayama. Everything is available on YouTube, Instagram. Simple breathing practices as you start your day. Once you've started your day, you're eating your breakfast. Allow yourself to eat your food in peace. Don't scroll. Be fully present with what you're eating. Taste it, savor it. Does it have enough salt? Just allow yourself to be fully there. Feel the sensations. Don't be distant from the food that you're eating. That sensory stimulation that you're getting in your hands as you're eating, your taste buds, the way that you're processing it. Just these simple acts also calm the nervous system down. Again, you're in class, but you're thinking about the next class. Just allow yourself to be fully present where you are. You may be here in this room, but everyone's checking, oh, it's time, I'm hungry, that store's going to close, I want to eat that for dinner today. Allow yourself these small little pockets of time where you can be present. You have such a beautiful fitness center here on campus. You also have nature, just like Binita said. 15 minutes of a stroll. You've just eaten lunch, you still have some time. Walk around the campus. Use the gym, use the yoga room. Just simple movement is going to give you that additional pocket to be present. Equanimity in the present moment is the reset tool that you need, and it is something you already have. We've just forgotten it because of our phones, our lives, being stuck in the past, moving to the future. We're never really there, fully present in that moment, and we're not doing justice to that moment either, right? We're not really achieving anything. So simple acts like eating with awareness, before you sleep, a practice that really helped me when I was struggling with this is I would lay down in bed before I slept and I would close my eyes and I would just replay my day, not thinking about it, just it's like one slide after the next. I woke up, I brushed my teeth, I combed my hair, I went here, I went there, I did that, I did that, I did that, all the way till I'm lying here now in bed ready to sleep. I did that for a month, and what I noticed at the end of the month is that because I had to check in with myself at night, I had to also know what I did, right? If I was not present in doing what I was doing, it wouldn't occur to me when I was lying down. So I was able to recollect my day because I gave myself the ability to just fully observe and absorb what each moment was giving me. So when I was doing that check-in at night, I had two things. I was trying to better myself each day in how much I was absorbing in each moment, and I was also trying to be present. Basically, body awareness, breath awareness, situational awareness is just what yoga is. So if you can just do that, I feel like these are very simple and free tools.
Right. May I also request Binita and Dr. Sheryl to share one small practice, in a couple of words, that can be adopted by the students when their emotions feel heavy. What would you recommend?
So we talk about when you're stressed is something known as the tip skill. So TIP, right? The tip skill is T is for temperature. So any kind of, you can take ice, keep it in your hand, or dip your face in cold water. I know you get those glowing Korean skin also, I think, if you dip. But it's also good for your parasympathetic nervous system. Or dip a towel in cold water and keep it at the nape of your neck. So that's the temperature. The I is any form of intense exercise. So it could be 20 jumping jacks that you're doing when you're stressed, or go for a run, or go for a walk. And the P is spaced breathing. So any kind of breathing, like Devyani spoke about box breathing, because when you're stressed, you want to shift the focus to the parasympathetic nervous system. And the tip skill will help you in the stimulation of the parasympathetic nervous system. Some things you cannot do, like you can't, if you're in an exam hall, you're in an interview, you can't go and search for ice or suddenly get up and do jumping jacks, right? Then they'll send you directly to the student wellness center. But maybe you can just do the pace breathing. So if you practice that on a daily basis, right, then it will be easy. The other thing that I think Devyani spoke about, mindfulness. So talking about, the ad कि आपके toothpaste में नमक है कि नहीं. I mean, how many of us know how our toothpaste tastes like? Anybody? Just three of us know how our toothpaste tastes like, because even that simple activity, we're getting up in the morning and brushing, we're doing it in such an autopilot that we're not aware कि toothpaste में नमक है कि नहीं. Ad बना दिया यार, right? So just a little bit of mindfulness will help in reactivating your parasympathetic nervous system. So that's maybe one of the things. Gratitude journal. At the end of the day, all of us, every religion will talk about being grateful. But what are you grateful for? What experience you're grateful for in the day? So write down, when you're lying down in bed and you're doing Devyani's exercise, also end with two things in the day that you were grateful for. It activates the medial temporal part of your brain. It's science. And that, if gets stronger and stronger, is how you build resilience, how you kind of delay developing depression.
Thank you. I think they've given enough tools. I just want to emphasize this idea of rest being an act of care and respect to your body, to your brain, and to your surroundings. When you are allowing of rest, there's this idea around rest that is, it should be about doing more, but rest can also mean pausing. And pausing doesn't mean हम लोग 5 घंटे के लिए pause कर रहे हैं. But pausing can mean giving yourself a minute. I think that and it could be like just slowing down in different ways, right? The speed at which you're eating, the speed at which you're talking, the volume of your voice. So a lot of times just kind of shifting that is giving your brain and body this idea that you are allowed to slow down. Sometimes it's about giving permission to ourselves. And another practice which is easily accessible along with breath is self-touch and soothing. So our vagus nerve, as both of them have mentioned, is the longest running nerve in our body. And it connects all the way from our brain to our gut. So if we can hold our gut, we can hold our heart, we can hold ourselves, it kind of mimics the same soothing experience that we infants experience when they are being patted and put to bed and put to sleep. That's why we say a mother's touch is so important, right? So that's a way of caring for yourself. So when you soothe yourself, when you put a hand over your head or where your nervous system centers are, which is your heart, your gut, the back of your head, those are ways in which you can support yourself. You'll immediately notice what Dr. Sheryl said, the temperature. You'll immediately be then able to access breath, heartbeat, all of that in that moment. But I just want to emphasize this idea of rest and like allowing yourself that this is the invitation is not to do more. The invitation is to do it in a way that seems accessible and is supportive to you. All of us will have our own strategies around it already. We are just kind of seeing what can be plugged in with what we already know.
Thank you so much, that was very helpful. And thank you so much for answering all my questions. It's now the turn of the audience to ask their questions. So the floor is now open. Whoever would like can please raise their hands and my colleague will come to the mic.
Hi, this is Divya. I would like to ask, where do we draw the line between a physical illness and stress causing physical symptoms?
To whom this?
So stress causing, so it is a physical illness. Even if it's stress, like I said, emphasize it's not a mental illness, it's a physical illness. If that illness or that stress is impairing your daily functioning, so anything that impairs socio-occupational functioning, if it's impairing the way you're interacting with your friend groups, you're socializing, you're interacting with your colleagues, or it's impairing your occupation, whether you're a professor, whether you're a student, whether you're a PhD fellow, if it's impairing your socio-occupational functioning, you need to get help for it.
Thank you.
You had it.
Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Anjali. So, what I wanted to ask was that all of you mentioned that we should react how we feel, but what I feel is if we'll react to every emotion we get, then we'll stuck in the loop of like, for example, in morning I'm feeling like I don't want to go to yoga, and if I listen to my body at that time, then maybe I'll get stuck in the loop for full day that why I didn't went. So my question is, should we react to, like, should we listen to our body? I don't know, like, I'm confused about how much we should listen to our body, how much we should react, because I'm not a very emotional person, so I feel like being too emotional is not very good for our mental health.
So when we're talking about feeling, that feeling, what kind of behavior does it lead to? So is that behavior something which is counterproductive, or is the behavior which is helpful for me as an individual in the long term? You heed to that feeling. If I told you every feeling, there is a thought behind that feeling. So go into that thought rather than just staying in that feeling. Why is that I don't want to go for yoga in the morning? You don't feel like going? Let's say the feeling is laziness, and the manifestation or the behavior is you're not going. Just take a pause and look at the thought behind it. कि क्यों मुझे नहीं जाना है? And then try to fix the thought. The feeling will change. All of us are emotional beings. It's how much in tune we are with our emotions. How much am I aware about it? Am I somebody who will suppress my emotions and not kind of let it come? So it's such a pattern that it's in the subconscious mind, but the body will show, right? So be aware of the thoughts. What is the thought leading to the feeling?
I just want to say that there's a very fine line between what we're feeling and the way that it's showing up. And with your example of, I've woken up this morning and I don't want to show up. So it's a very relatable thought. But I read a really beautiful quote somewhere which said that X years from now or X months from now, what is the life that I visioned for myself? And then I come back to where I am today. What are the actions I'm taking to take myself there? What is in my environment? Is that environment supportive of me to reach my vision or not? And that is a very good way of gauging if you're feeling, like ma'am said, is productive or counterproductive. So you may have not slept all night, you may have had a long night, you may be just shifting in bed, and then you wake up at 5 and push it really hard in a physical practice. That's detrimental to your health. But if you've clocked in 8 hours of sleep and you wake up just feeling lazy, let discipline take over. So there is that question of Vivek. In yoga and in our sutras, it's said that as human beings, we have been given the brain to use our thinking, to use our thoughts, to understand and operate with Vivek. Vivek is the ideology and the thought of what is good for me, what is bad for me. So we need to use that and understand that, is this feeling productive or counterproductive? This is again very relevant to seeing a psychologist or psychiatrist. When you're stepping into that room, 100 things will stop you from doing that. You'll feel a lot of, what am I going to say? How's the conversation going to go? But what do you want for yourself? You want healing. So again, discipline. I have no option because the life I've envisioned for myself is that of healing. So I have to take myself into that room regardless of how much my feeling is telling me I don't want to do it.
So if I'll stop myself doing something, will not that be stored in my body and will be like...
I think that's yours. You want to complete? I think you were...
No, I was just saying that if I'll let discipline took over, then I am suppressing my feelings, most of my emotions, like I want to eat sugar but I'm not able to. So won't that be getting stored in my body and will affect me later, which you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, I think the question here is to separate sensations in my body, what feeling I'm associating with that sensation, and then as a result, what thought is coming, right? So it could be like I'm experiencing fatigue. That's the sensation there, like my body's aching. I'm associating fatigue with laziness, let's just say, right? And when I look at laziness, the thought I have is that this is useless. Why am I doing this? So it becomes a loop there, right? But when if I notice my sensation being like I am fatigued, and I say I am tired, then the response I might have to myself is like, what do I want to do with this tiredness? Do I want to go to a yoga class with this? Or do I want to sleep a little bit and move little? Yoga class bunk kar diya, but I'll still walk, I'll still go to work, all of that. So I think that's where is the little nuance around that, right? When we say that stuff gets stored in our bodies, when judgment comes in. When we are judging what we are feeling with a story. So I imagine it as state before story. Notice your state. Notice your physiological state first. Right? And what is happening? And then say what is the story you're telling yourself about that physiological state. It could be a judging story, it could be a story you've heard in the society about rest, about yoga, about whatever, some concept, or it could be something that you have learned through experience. Right? If that is what is there, you basically are pausing and sensing like, acha, ye ho raha hai. In the present, this is happening. And how do I want to respond to this? Do I want to listen to this, like Devyani said, or do I want to let another part of me, another experience of me that was positive, that has supported me in the past, take over and respond to this?
Thank you very much. I think that answered my question.
Thanks, ma'am. Wonderful session it was, all of the 3 lessons. I want to ask how to keep mobile away from while we are reading and increase the span, because nowadays sitting for even 30 minutes at a stretch has become difficult. So please guide us.
Before we move on to listening to the answer for this very important question, may I request those who are leaving to please fill the feedback form. It would really, help us understand your thoughts and what we can improve moving forward. So thank you. Yes, over to not using mobile phones.
You have to think about Nike ka ad. Just do it. Right? There's no other way that you're going to be able to break that addiction. Let's go to the root, right? Why are you going to the phone? Because it's stimulating your dopamine, it's stimulating your reward system. The phone, when you're using it, activates the same pathway that weed, alcohol, opioid activates. The same nervous system is getting activated. So when I'm going there and I'm getting a dopamine hit, why would I want to look and read a research paper? I mean, kitna boring, right? There's no dopamine kick with that. So the only thing that you can do is when you reset it is actually having a gadget-free zone in your room, keeping that phone away. When you wake up in the morning, 30 minutes after you wake up, not using that phone. 30 minutes before bedtime, no using phone. Even if you start with those small practices, sometimes you say, but very सारे messages WhatsApp पे वो तभी आएंगे मुझे पता चलेगा कि class कब है नहीं है. Try to kind of see कि at least 15 minutes उसको अलग रखो. Then don't start your day with that particular dopamine kick. You know, schedule that time where you're saying, I'm going to keep the phone in a place where it's difficult to access, in my bag there. But I'm not going to get up and go and take it. So that will help.
Hi, my name is Rohit, and my question is when there is a sudden change in my environment or routine, let's say when I complete my semester exams and went home for vacations, I feel sudden restlessness within my heart, chest. So is it normal and how to cure it?
So any change, your body is supposed to respond to change in your environment, right? Stress is not bad. What is the definition of stress? Is body's reaction to the environment. So if you're feeling like going back home and feeling restless because you've set a routine for yourself in campus, and when you go, you're completely confused. So to avoid that, try to maintain a routine wherever you're going. In a situation, there will be 10 things that are in your control. Right? So focus on the things that you're in control wherever you are, because the environment will keep on changing. Today it's IIT campus, tomorrow it's home, later it may be a corporate place where you're working with a difficult boss. Your environment is going to keep on changing. If you have certain things that is part of your routine, then the restlessness will get better.
I think the idea is also to orient. Like, I think when we are used to switching, like we don't, like, it's what I was mentioning earlier, right? When you're going from one environment, there'll be a lot of external stimuli, right? I don't know where your hometown or home place is, but it will be different from Bombay. Bombay is really like stimulus heavy. Everything is loud. Everything is like hustle, right? And when very often, even if you go to a quiet room, forget going to a quiet city, it takes your brain and body to like come in alignment to the rhythm of that particular place and space and how that operates. So I think it's also about recognizing that it takes time. Anybody, if you pick, takes some time. And in that transition period is a good opportunity to sense into what helps to transition better. Right? When I go, like, it helps to maybe spend like 2 hours just by myself, looking at my space, organizing my space so it feels like something is accessible and in my control. So I feel like that is more important, because we all have ways of knowing what works for us. Somewhere deep down we all have what children say, jugaad hai sabke paas. It's more about really tapping into that, like what works for me in this moment.
Just one small additional point. Changing environment is also a luxury. Not everybody gets it. So like ma'am said, just be grateful, and when you know that you are in a new environment, find peace and also listing down what you're grateful for. So what is it when you're going back home that actually you're looking forward to? So you must be grateful for time back home, familiar food, familiar faces, a lot of love. I think just that act allows us to look at the situation in a completely different way. And we also then know that this time is fleeting, because then I have to come back to campus. So cherish it.
Sorry, in the interest of time and also our hunger, this will be the final question, but our panelists are Right, so we have two final questions, but our panelists are quite accessible. You can definitely reach out to them after this panel discussion if they don't mind. Yes, please.
Yes, good evening everyone. So my question is, like you mentioned, like being mindful and being present. So it is getting more and more difficult these days because of the gadgets and social media and continuously so much stimulation we get. So I'm a PhD student here and I know the campus is beautiful, but I seldom remember that I've enjoyed its beauty myself. I get updates from my husband that this is very beautiful, that part of the campus is beautiful, but I really, struggle with, I'm a mother also. So I really struggle with, just surviving to meet deadlines and, give my baby time. So then I don't really have any time to, work on me. So this is one thing, and also like even when I take a walk, which I really, being a computer researcher, it's very difficult, like you spend a lot of time sitting in front of the computer and working. So even when I take a walk, it's like I'm on a call or I'm answering another call or making a call that I wanted to. So really, observing nature and jo aapne bola tha that connecting with it happens very less. Sorry, my question is getting longer. The last thing is I also have sleep problems. So since many years, I don't remember, I've been using earphones to fall asleep. I mean, I cannot calm my thoughts. So I listen to some lecture, focusing on that, I fall asleep. So I know this is not healthy. Can you please help me with that? Thank you.
So I just want to say, PhD student, lot of roles and responsibilities, everything is on one spectrum, motherhood is on another. So I myself am a mother to a toddler, and when you're not with your child, the mental load and the mental list, the guilt that comes in, the 100 things that you could be doing with your child versus do what you're doing right now, and also nothing feels as rewarding as spending time with your child. So it is a struggle, but what really helped me in this is, as selfish as it sounds, ma'am said tips. So high intensity workouts. She spoke of intensity. I started taking an hour, 45 minutes to 60 minutes in a day, where I know my child is fed, all my roles and responsibilities in that hour will not be affected, and I can delegate whatever I can in that moment and do something extremely intense. Because when you're doing an intense workout or you're doing anything with high intensity, you have no option but to shut down. And sometimes when the mental overload is so high, that's all you need and you find solace in that. And that intensity will also fatigue your physical body and make you sleep better at night. Instead of using earphones and a podcast, let's also just try observing the rising and falling of our abdomen as we lay down. Simple tools. If you are listening to a podcast, move to things that help you. What's the app? Calm and Headspace. These are simple apps, easily accessible. So same thing, just change it. Instead of earphones, keep it on speaker. It has a feature where it switches off automatically. So just change the narrative a little bit, and physical movement always helps.
So sometimes when it's great when we talk about intense exercise, I think I'm quite loud. What you need to see is in a 24-hour cycle. See the narrative that we are giving ourselves. I'm so busy that I don't have 10 minutes to take out for myself, which is actually not true. It's just that we are substituting it with so many things to do. So as a mother, if you can just say, I'm just going to wake up 10 minutes earlier than everybody else and just use that 10 minutes to stare outside my window or enjoy my cup of tea. Or if I am a computer research fellow and I'm on the computer and I time myself ki 45 minutes ke baad, I'm just going to get up, stretch and sit down. See, those simple mindful activities, you think it doesn't really add up to a lot, but when you do it regularly, it makes a huge difference. When you're taking that walk in campus, consciously say, I'm not going to get on that call. I'll get on a call after maybe 3 trees, but I'm at least going to observe 3 trees. Sleep, if you're struggling with sleep, it's very important to have a sleep routine. So when your baby goes to sleep, and kids are, I don't know how many of you have kids, but they have a routine which says, okay, naya, ye pajama pehna, ye story bola, then the child is able to sleep. So try to have that routine for yourself. So if 30 minutes before you go to bed, no gadgets, because a lot of us are revenge. I've worked so hard, including me, and let me just kind of, see all the reels that I missed during the day. When I posted, how many people have liked my post. We kind of want to take that revenge time for ourselves, consciously keeping that away. In that 30 minutes, what are you going to do? You will do 2 things which activate any 2 sense organs. So it could be a scented cream. Don't light scented candles because you fall asleep and feel aag lag jayegi. Right? So scented cream, and the same cream every day. So it's not like aaj rose, kal lavender or something. Why? Because you're stimulating your sensory nervous system. See, when this smell comes, it is time for me to shut off. It could be a hot glass of cinnamon water. Just 2 things. And doing it every day on repeat mode will help. If you think that you're bombarded with thoughts, journaling before you go to bed. So writing down your thoughts and also your to-do list for the next day. Okay, this is what I want to do. So the to-do list prepares like a Google map or a navigation for your brain to process in the night. And then you wake up a little bit more calm.
I just want to add one thing that I think just remembering that community also supports nervous system. So if you have a community that can take some load off, your surroundings can, and it doesn't have to be family, it can be friends, it can be people who kind of encourage you to be in motion at classes and things like that, because it can feel like a lot to do on your own and these are cultivated practices. I think if you try to fickle into an already busy looking schedule, it will feel like you're adding one more task to your list. But if you reverse that in your head, right, that you plan rest first, place that on your calendar first, and then plan everything else that is important to you, then you're kind of prioritizing that in your calendar, right? I do this for myself personally, where I put all my workouts, all my social engagements, anything that nourishes me first. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to give sessions at this point. And while it can feel like a task in the beginning because we are not used to doing that, we are not used to working in that manner, what it does, it doesn't make them rest as this far away, once in a while holiday. It makes it an everyday routine. And then routine becomes possible, right? Very often we have a very weird relationship with time. It needs to work in a certain way. But time can work in a very set way, the way it works in calendar, and it can work like with ease also. So when this happens, and you're used to then working with time in both ways. Otherwise, we have these fixed ways that get set in our brain because of the culture we are around, that ye time ko ye hona chahiye. And when this happens, then you also build something called pendulation in your body. When it needs to be strict, when it needs to be a little relaxed, when it needs to be fluid, when it needs to not be fluid and organized. So just wanted to add that.
So schedule your self-care and fake it till you make it. You have a final question, please.
Hello, ma'am. Just a very short question from all that I collected here. Ma'am, so the cortisol is the stress one, and it's good, it enhances focus, but if it's for too long or too much, it creates problem. And was also told that stress gets stored in the body. So is it like that those stored stress manifest as physical problems later? So is it like this chemical, the cortisol getting stored as precipitate or in some chemical form getting stored in the body? Or if it so, then it should get released in the practices when we are trying to fix our focus should be on more than to remove this chemical from the body than are you getting my word?
Yeah, so cortisol is something which gets stored. Cortisol is something that gets released when you are in a stress. Now, some amount of cortisol is important. There are times when cortisol is released. When you sleep in the night, there is a peak of cortisol. That cortisol is important for all body functions, reproductive health, for your endocrine system. When it's in constant on, it's called cortisol dysfunction or dysregulation. Everything in our body needs to be regulated. There has to be a homeostasis. Stress is when that homeostasis, or distress is when that homeostasis is disturbed. Cortisol ज़रूरत से ज़्यादा बढ़ा हुआ है या ज़रूरत से ज़्यादा टाइम पे रिलीज हो रहा है. It is not getting stored anywhere. It's just there in circulation for a longer period of time than needed because it has an effect. The cortisol is supposed to get released. There's a peak effect of cortisol and then it's supposed to go down. But when you're having cortisol dysfunction, it's constantly on its peak. The impact of that is in various organs, which is your endocrine organs. So your thyroid dysfunction will start. Your sugars, your insulin resistance will happen. So you will develop diabetes. Your muscles will get more tighter. You'll have more fat deposition. So the aftermath of that cortisol is what we're talking about. Cortisol as a chemical is not getting stored in.
So, ma'am, if I conclude, then is it so that the excess chemical, when it gets used up, it's got excreted from the body like that, or like?
No, so that's a very simplistic expression. It's not like that. So it's not a chemical which gets stored anywhere.
Okay.
The chemical is getting released. It stays in. If there is a dysfunction, it stays in circulation for longer than needed. And because it stays in circulation longer than needed, it impacts every other organ of the body. Your heart. It's supposed to work in your heart. It's supposed to work and then effect ho jayega, the heart is supposed to rest. This is constantly on. So the heart is constantly under stress. Why are we seeing young people, gym goers, having heart attacks? Because of this sense of stress, the cortisol being high, working on the heart muscles, so the heart is pumping. So the cortisol is not getting good and stored in the heart, but your heart is pumping more. It's pumping as if it's running all the time. It's creating a bagna. So your heart is pumping faster. So the muscles are getting hypertrophy. So the impact of that raised cortisol on different parts is the problem. It's not that it's not getting secreted.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, audience, for your lovely questions leading to this delightful discussion. And thank you so much for your patience. We really appreciate it. May I now request our host, Robert, to please come back on stage and take the next. Thank you, experts.
Alright, that was very interesting and I had a good time in this talk. I got to experience and realize various perspectives of my mind, my body, and how we can connect this mind-body relation and understand about our emotions more progressively. So with this, we are at the end of this session. I thank all of you. But before we wrap up, I am going to request you again to scan this scanner. I know you must be tired of scanning so many scanners at this campus, but this will really help us to receive a feedback of how we can improve and what other topics we can come up in future for Through the Lens edition. So as we come towards the close of today's session, I'd like to pause and give a heartfelt gratitude to all our speakers. First and foremost, Ms. Binita, then Dr. Sheryl, Ms. Devyani, Puri, Ahuja, for sharing not just all of your professional expertise, but also to present your thoughts and the depth of understanding that you all come up with. Your insights really have helped us look at the emotional well-being, not as just something we think about, but something we experience in our bodies as well. I'd also like to thank Ankita to facilitate the panel talk for a smooth facilitation, and our entire Student Wellness Center team to organize this entire Through the Lens Inside Out session as well. Moving on, a warm thank you for the audience for showing up especially and to coming up with the curious questions, the openness and the reflections. These sessions will not be there if we don't get such big support from the students and the faculties and all the people who are present here. So yes, and feedback as well. So keep giving us the good feedback. So yes, your engagement reminds us that well-being is not just about having answers, but also about being connected, aware, and willing to listen to ourselves and to one another. On behalf of the SWC Center, thank you for being part of this Through the Lens session. We hope you leave with something small yet meaningful to notice, with something very important to carry with yourself and sit with, and just to pause and reflect within yourself. We'll now proceed with the felicitation of our panelists. I would like to invite our in charge of SWC, Ms. Anisha Matthews ma'am, to present the mementos to our experts. Can we have a huge round of applause? Okay, so yes, that's all. That's a wrap up for today's session, guys. Before you leave, guys, please follow us on please follow us on Instagram for our recent updates. So next week we are going to have another session on relationships, red flags, green flags, how to identify them, the science of relationships. So yeah, I hope that is going to be full. So this is our website scanner, this is our Instagram scanner. Please follow us, please subscribe us, share us, and yeah. Also our speakers are here for